Contractors, let's talk about the real reason your team is constantly coming to you and asking you a bunch of questions, and you feel like you are the bottleneck because you just don't have enough time to run your business, put on all the fires, answer all the questions, and keep everybody happy to keep the engine going in your business. Give me just the next couple of minutes, and I'm going to break down exactly how you can delegate successfully to your employees so you can free up 10 hours each and every week and stop being the bottleneck in your business. Hey, I'm Liz Chism, and over the past couple of years, I've been helping contractors double their margins, build a team, and streamline their operations so that they can stop being the bottleneck and grow their business without the chaos. So if you feel like you're constantly answering questions, constantly getting text messages, constantly getting stuff thrown on your plate from your employees for you to do, and you're running around like a chicken with your head cut off, it's really not a them problem. And it's really not a you problem. It's really a systems problem. It means that your business does not have the right systems in place in order to run efficiently. And so therefore you become the chief answering officer or the chief errand boy, the CEO, or the chief knowledge officer. So you have all the knowledge on all the jobs and everybody's coming to you asking these questions. Now you may be one of those contractors who feel like you've told your employees what to do and how to do it, and you're still getting asked questions. You may feel like, well, it's in the blueprint, it's in the plans, there's the subs, like, I don't know why you're coming to me for questions, and yet at the same time, they're still coming to you for questions. And so there's a disconnect between what your employees are doing and what you're doing, and that's causing the friction in your business, and that's what's causing all of the delegation from, instead of you delegating to your employees end up just putting stuff back onto your plate, and then therefore you become the bottleneck. So there's a system that I put in with all the contractors that are in a Roundtable Mastermind, and it helps them delegate with ease. It helps them get back at least 10 hours, if not more, of their time. And it really also helps them reduce rework, get their jobs done on time, and convert better clients into more business. It's a very simple framework. Now, if you want the SOP or the standard operating procedure for really implementing this strategy into your business, then just comment KPI below and I'll send you over my role clarity toolbox, which includes all the KPIs that you really need to be measuring in your business to help you not be the bottleneck anymore. Now, when we're thinking about delegation and we're thinking about who's going to do what and how we're going to get stuff up our plate so we can work on our business instead of in our business, we can stop being the bottleneck and we stop putting out the fires, then we need to think about who. So when we think about the first step to delegate, we need to think, who are we going to delegate? What is their role? Now, recently I was reviewing an SOP from a contractor for their superintendent. Basically all the things that their superintendent does and how to do it. And they're about ready to hire multiple superintendents. And so they want to repeat the process so they don't have to go through as much training. Everybody is up to speed. Everybody's doing the same thing the way they want it to be done. And the time to get these superintendents up to speed is very, very quickly. So we're building an entire SOP or standard operating procedure around the role of the superintendent. And so when I first looked at it, there was all these different things, and we took it from the job description and we made it into an SOP. Okay, this is based off the job description. This is how you do the job. The job description is what you're going to do. And so the how is like, okay, they're going to do this and this and this. And there's multiple times during that entire list, it was about 10 pages that we've been working on that could be delegated to a virtual assistant. And I said, okay, this should not be done by the superintendent. It should actually be done by somebody else. This particular contractor actually just hired a virtual assistant from the Philippines, and this assistant, this VA, can do all of these tasks without keeping the superintendent as the bottleneck. And so there are certain things that actually need to be done by certain people that make things run smoother. If you just delegate and dump stuff onto your superintendent, eventually they are going to be the bottleneck, and then they're going to be working longer hours, and then they're going to be exhausted, they're going to be burned down, and really they don't need all of that. And so in this particular example, we had to figure out, okay, what isn't going to be done by the superintendent and what's going to be done by the virtual assistant, and then what is going to be done by the project manager. In this case, it was the owner. So really the who is important. Who are you going to delegate to? The second thing that needs to be done to delegate successfully is what needs to be done and how it needs to be done. And I wrap all of this into an SOP. So that's why I have the what and the how all at once. And that SOP, most of the time when people just write down an SOP or they say, hey, ChatGPT, write me an SOP for a superintendent role. And it really doesn't actually spit out the type of information that you want. Now, I do utilize ChatGPT, but I don't use it in this way because it doesn't actually work. So what I have them first do is write down everything that they're currently doing. Usually we do this with a time audit. So they already have that list of everything that they're doing because they've already done a time audit. Then we go, okay, that's what you're doing. Now, how do we actually do it? So instead of saying, oh, I'm reviewing contracts for subcontractors, it's like, okay, well, how are you doing that? What specifically are you looking for? Where are you organizing the scopes of work in order to make sure that all the scopes are covered and the job gets done and there's no gaps in between your subcontractors? All of those types of questions create the how. And so the way I do it inside the Roundtable Mastermind is we do Google document collaboration. So I call it SOP collaboration, where they have their list of what it is done, and then usually there's a few details on how to do it. And then I go through and ask all the questions to create the clarity, because if you don't have the clarity, then they don't really know how to do the job, and so then they end up making it up. And this is where you end up then having problems, because they've made up the process and it's not how you wanted it done in the first place. And so therefore there's just all sorts of issues, and then you end up putting out fires. And so when you have the what and the how, you create that SOP, or that standard operating procedure. Now within the standard operating procedure, you're also going to have KPIs. These are key performance indicators. This is going to tell us, how do we know that this job is successful? Well, we know that this is successful when the client is happy, when it's finished on time, when it's finished in budget, when the client gives us a 5-star review, when they refer us to their friends and family, or if you're in commercial, we get better connections, and usually in commercial, you're getting more jobs from that same owner, and so therefore you're getting repeat business. Now, when you have those KPIs, and this is why in the tool clarity and KPI toolbox that I'm going to send to you, if you drop the word KPI down below, this is what it all incorporates. It's who's doing what, and then it's how are they measured based off of this SOP. And so then the third thing that we need to do, and this is where most people actually mess up, and this is where most people fall off the bandwagon, and they're like, okay, so I have this role clarity and I have the SOP, but it's still not working, and it's because they're missing the third thing, and that is feedback. When you have the feedback in place, you now can tweak what needs to happen or how to optimize everything. And this is really where the rubber meets the road. Now, most people think of feedback is you do something and I tell you whether or not you did it right or wrong. And then there's the other kind of feedback where you have performance reviews. They could be annual performance reviews or quarterly performance reviews, where you sit down with your employee and you're like, okay, what did you do right? What did you do wrong? And those types of things. There is another type of feedback where it's going to be the feedback loop, where they do something and then they check in and say, okay, this is the results I got based off of this SOP. Now, what do we need to change in order to optimize our results? So if you put in an SOP and there's no feedback to it, you don't know what the SOP is actually working, or if it's being followed, or if the things that you're measuring are actually important or not. And so one of the guys that is a bathroom remodeler, and he does a lot of tile and he does beautiful showers and everything like that, he was having issues with his guys doing the shower process the exact same way he wanted them done, because he has very high quality standards. And so we put in an SOP, and then we had to have that feedback. And so one of the ways I do the feedback is I actually, when we create the SOP, we're like, okay, go find all the problems wrong with it and tell me what problems are wrong with this SOP. So instead of, it's like, okay, now I got to follow all these rules, I got to follow all of this process, I got to do all this stuff, plus do my job, and now I've added more stuff to my plate. It's like, oh, I need to find all the holes in this. Now that is one form of feedback. And so they are actually giving the feedback to the owner. And so there's actually a little bit of a role reversal here, and it really works well, because now they're on detective mode. Like, what is wrong with this SOP? And so they end up following it, they end up reading it, they end up doing it, and they're like, okay, well, this doesn't work this way. And then that's where the training can come in. It's like, no, I actually want it done that way, not this way, because of this reason. And then you can notice where there's training issues. If you just hand somebody an SOP and you just hope and cross your fingers that it's going to be followed, you're really just throwing your eggs in one basket and then sending it to a 2-year-old and expecting them to not break any of the eggs. Like, it does not work. It is literally a process that just does not work. Now, there's another way of feedback is weekly meetings. And it's like, okay, what are we measuring on a weekly basis? So for instance, if you are wanting feedback based off of an SOP for a superintendent or a foreman or whatever the role is, and one of the things that they're measuring is the schedule on time, and are the subcontractors doing their full scope of work, so that way there's no bottlenecks at the end of the day. And when you have that clarity of what the person's supposed to do and how they're supposed to do it and what you're measuring, then you can have a check-in, just a 10 to 15 minute check-in. It does not have to be long. It could be even on the phone while you're driving home from work, and be like, hey, at 3 o'clock on Friday, we're going to check in and make sure that we're on schedule. What does that schedule look like? Is it on time? Are we hitting our metrics? And so on and so forth. And when you really think about what is the most important thing that somebody needs to do, or what is the most important thing when this process is followed, what is that result that we're going to get? That is the thing you measure. So like I mentioned, if you want my whole list of all the KPIs and the roles and all of that into a toolbox, so that way you can use it inside your contractor business, just drop a line below saying KPI, and I'll send that right over to you. Hope you enjoyed this video. I really hope that when you follow this outline, you can actually get those 10 hours back, stop answering a million questions, and start finding the freedom in your business so you can grow your business and scale. See you in the next video.